Well, life is interaction, action. It's not stillness and isolation and silence. Do you see, the silence is only good in as far as you're able to commune with God, that you can keep up a conversation with Him, that you can relate to, wow, the author of all things, our Heavenly Father. I don't value people because of their ability to shut off from me, to not communicate, to not be available, to not answer, to not come to my rescue, to not be mindful and concerned of my welfare and the welfare of others. I don't value people for their ability to sit in silence and isolation for hours, days, weeks and years and lifetimes at a time. Life is not that. In fact, that's very much like death. And I don't mean some glorious spiritual death either. I mean death, no life. Life is sensitivity, awareness, interaction. And you say to me, yes, but we must have rest. You need rest because you have the wrong sensitivity and interaction. Wrong in the sense that you're involved in such that exhausts and wears out and runs down the body, mind and spirit. But that is not the way we're supposed to be living and supposed to be occupied. We're supposed to be occupied with the good. And if you've had a lovely day, well, you can, of course, close your mind and go to sleep. But you're probably just happy to extend the lovely day and the conversation and the company you have. Do you see, good living is life itself, is refreshing, is health and joy and glory. There is no need to sleep when you are living well. There's no need to retire from and rest. It's when the living that you're occupied with is dissipating your strength and vitality, instead of feeding it with joy and life, hope, peace and goodness. You know, I could be in the company of my mum, and sure, I might curl up on the carpet and fall asleep. But usually I didn't. I'd lay on the carpet, drinking in the happiness of just being with mum and chatting about this and listening to so and so. Do you see? Living correctly brings life. Stopping all things, the actions, the mind, is, well, unconsciousness. We don't want to empty the mind. That's death. It might give the body a break so that it can recover from your usual turmoil and pressures that it's generating on the body. But be much wiser to move in as far as you can towards a lifestyle that is building of health and vitality and rest, and a rest that's a rest from bad activity. But don't take everything out the flower bed, flowers and all. I mean, that's crazy. You just got bare earth. That's waiting for life to happen. It's not living. You can meditate for 40 years, 8, 10, 15 hours a day. And sure, you'll have got rid of a lot of bad thoughts, hopefully. Unless, of course, your meditation just left you alone and fermenting in such thoughts as you had originally, with what little you allow through. If, of course, you find your quiet time is filled with the splendor and the glory and the presence of God, well, that's quite different. I mean, that's just wonderful. And you don't need my advice then, do you? You don't need anyone's advice. You've got the love of God with you. And that's just lovely. But to sit there battling to stop thinking, or battling to sit in a certain pose, or battling to achieve some particular mantra or visualization, that's not what living is. It's not what God has allowed you to best advantage. You should be out there caring for people, delighting in His creation, interacting with it, being a source of great blessing and goodness. At the very least, listening to all the sort of things they wish to do around you, people and creatures and nature itself. So delight in living. Delight in it. Delight in seeing it with God's company. And when people interrupt, it's a blessing. God's allowed it. Let your mind switch happily to blessing them, happily to caring about them. Please don't try to perfect yourself. There's no such thing as an individual perfection. God is perfect in that He's loving and caring and holding the whole of creation, not that He's shut it out and sitting quietly, meditating wonderful things on His own. The wonderful family man is not the person who takes himself off somewhere else forever trying to get away from you. Oh, that's just so sad. Family life is not like that. Family life doesn't really leave you any space that you can simply say is my separate own. My own is the shared joy and fellowship, being with the people that you love and care for. And that's so easy to attain and to reach and to achieve and to practice. And it's not something you can pull off, just for half an hour or 10 minutes or 3 hours or once a year in some retreat. It's living for real. It's the way God has set it up for us. And sure, we are to avoid bad company and bad thoughts and bad activity. That doesn't mean to say we throw everything out, all company, all thoughts and all activity. That's just nonsense. as a description of death. Well, it's true your body might manage to recover from some of the stresses you were putting on it, but I mean, wow, what a cost. Temporary death to do it. No way. No, I mean, if you find every time you go into the quiet space, you have the reality of communicating with God, and your spirit just escalates through the roof, well, that's quite different. I mean, good on you. It sounds as though you're, wow, you're not ready for this planet, not this world. You don't need this world, and fair enough. But to impose it on yourself artificially, where that's not happening, where you're not in full communion and joy and blessing of God, well, that's just a nonsense. When He's given you the opportunity outside your meditation place to do just that, go and do it. Go and be a blessing. Don't focus in on yourself. Focus out on the fantastic creation God has before you and gives you opportunity to be blessed from and by. Thank you, wonderful God. Love being with you. Love seeing you in all the works of your hand. Love responding to the interruptions as I would otherwise see, to the gift you give all the time of interaction and being part of your wonderful being. Thank you, Heavenly Father. Dearest friend, thank you, Heavenly Father.
Well, would I have been better spending these 12 minutes past in, I don't know, silent, isolated, recluse meditation? I don't think so. I think I gained far more by being the instrument of this recording with the intention of blessing and blessing people. And He does a greater thing in me than through me. And the time's been well spent. So we live like that. We live. I'm come that you might have life, and have it more abundantly. You know, someone's full of life, they're full of joy. The words flow, they sing, they praise, they dance. They do not sit in silence with their eyes shut in a posture that doesn't move. Are you still there? Oh. It's common sense, isn't it? You don't need to be a rocket scientist to grasp this, that sort of towering intellect. It's obvious. God has given us normal, daily life because that is the way to come. And sure, you can spend time checking that you're doing it right. And what might be right? What is most blessedness? What is the loveliest thing to do? And you'll probably come up with, well, lovely company and being a blessing to people. And perhaps creatures, even plants. And loving God to bits. As our Heavenly Dad. Love you, Dad. Thank you. Thank you, Dad.